with the Talk Box. Tonight, the high cost of childcare. A new report says Oregon families have it worse than anywhere in the country. Based on family income, childcare cost the take is nearly 20%. That's one out of every $5. Tonight we have Ken Dale from the Peninsula Children's Learning Center and Martha Calhoun from Children First for Oregon, a statewide nonprofit. Now, both of you were in our coverage earlier tonight. This is kind of frightening when people hear this. Parents have been paying the money, but to know that we are the most expensive in the country, why is that happening? Who wants to start?
I think it's an important distinction to make between the most expensive and the least affordable. So what the report is telling us is a trend that child advocates have actually been observing for years, which is that as the cost of child care has steadily risen, family incomes have declined. So we have the least affordable child care in relationship to our family incomes. So, you know, it used to be, for example, that as a parent, the big expense that you worried about was how you're going to pay for your children's college. And you had 18 years to save for that. Well, in some Oregon counties now, child care is averaging twice the cost of college tuition. So, you know, if you consider that family incomes are generally not increasing, but the cost of providing all basic necessities are, including child care, then, you know, and it's all happening at a time when we're seeing decreased public investments in the very programs and services that were designed to see families through hard times, then you end up with a situation like what we see in this report.
Okay, Ken, why is this happening? Why are we number one when it comes to the cost?
Well, I think when you talk about cost, you talk about what it costs families. And when you talk about cost of families, you talk about what they can afford and what kind of state support you get. In other words, a big issue for all of us is that we rely on federal, local, county funding for our program. Our program depends a lot like on the children's levy. Without for the Portland Children's Levy, we wouldn't have a program. What happens in many other states, there are a lot more support for programs. I use the analogy we're building a building. Is it better to have a really good foundation and start from the ground up and with giving everyone a chance to get in, have really good care no matter where you are economically, which Oregon attempts to do, whereas with getting support, whereas then not putting it to the high end of the college end, which is like the end of the building, the high end of the building.
And so why is there that shift then? I mean, why, you know, we're paying, you know, as the child starts life, and you know, by the time they get to college, certainly it's going to be very expensive as well. But if parents, they first of all need to work, they're making less, but they need this child care, what's the solution here?
I think in Oregon we have a really good opportunity to bridge the gap between family incomes and the rising cost of child care through our employment-related daycare program. The employment-related daycare program is a subsidy for working parents who need assistance paying for child care while they work. Unfortunately, that program is not adequately funded to serve all of the families who would need it.
Very quickly, so bottom line here, is it going to get to the point where some people who need to work can't work because it's going to cost them, you know, all of what they make for, you know, for child care?
That's right, and then those children don't receive child care, and then when they get ready to start school, they're behind parents that have the more discretionary income. And our goal is to make it a level playing field for everybody. And so when you talk about rising costs, it's because justifiably so, the state has lots of very high standards for education and for people.
Well, this discussion is going to go on for a long time, as long as children are children. Mm-hmm. All right, thanks to Ken and for you, Martha, as well. Appreciate it very much. We do have some breaking news out of